Hi, this is Khalil Guliwala. Welcome to another episode of the BIPOC Manager podcast. In today's episode, I have Camille Isaacs Morell with us. I'm super excited to have her with us. She is a business leader, a volunteer, and an artist who uses her talent to help people and organizations be better and do better. Half of her career was in the foreign service in Jamaica and the corporate sector, where she was a Standard Life Assurance company in McKesson, Canada. She then switched over to the nonprofit sector, where she was executive director of the Alzheimer's Society of Montreal and is currently the vice president of Hope for Dementia. She's been involved as a volunteer and a board member of organizations that support better health, women and girls, and marginalized persons. Please, Camille.
Thank you for having me, Callie. It's a pleasure to be here and to talk about this very important topic.
Thank you so much, Kimmy. I think, talking to you, I think you're someone who's cracked the idea about asking for winning conditions. And I think sort of, so I think that's a theme we're going to keep coming back to, but I think part of it's understanding what the conditions are. So Kimmy, can you talk about the conditions of DEI in the work sector, please?
Okay, so for anybody, regardless of who they are or what their race or their ethnic background is, everybody needs to have the winning conditions in order to succeed in their organization, and it works both ways. Organizations hire people based on the talent and the reputation and the potential that they see in persons who are being hired. Now, winning conditions have to work both ways. So there has to be some discussion and, in fact, negotiation and a formalized agreement on what the outcomes are that are expected, what are the key deliverables, and then the person who is being hired has to therefore look at the resources that are available, not only financial resources, but the working conditions, the human resources that are around them, and most importantly, especially in the nonprofit sector, the board of directors, the access to the expertise and the resources on the board of directors. Now, certain situations do not just appear to be ideal upfront, and a lot of organizations are always evolving and needing to change, and sometimes the leadership is required to make those changes. We have to be very clear on the magnitude of the mandate and the expertise, and to really, be tactful but direct, I think, about the composition of the persons who are on the board of directors. We also have to be very clear on upfront, those of us who are hired in leadership positions, to, get buy-in for the strategy that we're trying to implement, if it's something that is new, and not only just be prescriptive about the strategy, but ask for the consensus and the commitments of various persons to support the various elements of the strategy. So there's a lot of clarity that has to be done, and this needs to be done, I believe, within the first 90 days of being hired.
Interesting, Kimmy. I think something you've spoken a lot about is about emotional intelligence, how important it is to understand the environment you're in. You mentioned the first 90 days. Can you talk about how the emotional intelligence plays a role, especially for minorities, when it comes to understanding the environment that they're in?
Yes. So first things first, it's human nature, and not only human nature, in nature in general. People and animals and plants, any living organism tends to gravitate towards or have a stronger sense of affiliation with people, places, cultures that are similar to theirs. It is natural that when we're living in a society where the majority of people are white, they are naturally going to be hiring people who look like them or who they have a better understanding of. A person who is a BIPOC has a lot to offer. The data is there documented, saying the benefits of diversity. And what is important for BIPOC persons, and also women who are also white, and other white persons who are probably have a different sexual orientation, religious affiliation, who are different from the majority, is that they have to understand the way how the majority thinks. they have to understand the culture that they're in, and to understand the responses that people have to things that are different. Now, emotional intelligence really is about managing your own emotions and understanding and responding appropriately to the emotions of others. So you may meet a person who has never worked intensively with a BIPOC person, and the person has some amount of fear or some type of stereotype. Responding in a way that is aggressive to that person is inappropriate. We have to, as BIPOCs, try to understand, look around the room, see who is in there, get to know people one-on-one, and then understand their motivations, understand their way of thinking, understand something about their background, and also share from our background and find what is it in common, why it is we are both working together, and from there, you tend to create the conditions for success, because then there's a mutual understanding. So emotional intelligence requires a lot of self-awareness, self-regulation. You know how to modulate instead of reacting angrily when a person makes a biased, an unconscious bias statement. You know how to manage your emotions in that situation. You also need to understand what motivates you and what motivates the other person, because people on boards of directors, some of them are there primarily for, they care about the cause, but it's boosting their public image and their resume. There are others who are genuinely there to raise money. There are others who are there to give advice. And we have to understand the motivations and optimize the talents and the motivations that people are bringing. And there has to be some amount of empathy. Particularly, this is a hard one for many of us who are BIPOCs, but we have to empathize, I believe, with the ignorance of other people. And I know that that's probably something that is hair-raising for some people, but if a person has not been exposed to a person who is Black, for example, there are some people have stereotypes about Jamaicans. I can't respond in a way that is aggressive to them. I have to empathize with their perspective or their fear, but at the same time, require that the person does not treat me disrespectfully. And that's where the other element of emotional intelligence, of social skills comes in, where you know how to end a conversation, how to stay out of another person's space, how to build relationships with people. So with all of this emotional intelligence, it's critical to succeeding. And you also, that's the work that we have to do as BIPOCs, particularly in the nonprofit sector.
Yeah, exactly, Camille. I think just your point is sort of, having the social skills, having that emotion intelligence, make sure that you can understand the people around you. But also imagine at the same time, you talked about sort of, about in the past about tokenization and ambushing. So can you talk a bit more sort of those very instances, like maybe if you describe, I guess, what those situations are and how you recommend someone's BIPOC handle those situations, please?
Okay, so tokenism and ambushing is a phrase that I've coined myself. I don't know if other people are talking about that I haven't seen it around, but what happens is that in the aftermath of the George Floyd murder, we saw an upsurge in chief diversity officer hirings in a lot of Fortune 500 companies, and everybody was talking about that. Recent data is indicating that the turnover for DEI or chief diversity officer positions and persons involved in the DEI space in the corporate world, both in Canada and in the United States, is actually high. The turnover is high. There's a lot of frustration that is coming from all of this. There are lots of people who will tell you that they were hired or the position was created to demonstrate that the organization is committed to diversity. A lot of positions or boards have said that they want to fill vacant positions with persons of color to demonstrate that they are, in fact, being diverse. The issue here is that persons get hired. What it is really is the person is being tokenized or is being put there to fill, to fill the boxes, the check marks. And when I say ambushing, the fact of the matter is that very often the visible minority is the only visible minority in the leadership position, and they get ambushed in the sense that in difficult situations, they cannot garner the support of the persons who are in the majority, because the people, it's a safe space for people to support people who are like them and not be seen standing out on a limb supporting a person who is different or who they don't understand. So this is something, being tokenized and ambushed is not something that we need to get angry about. We need to be aware of it, and we need to equip ourselves by becoming more emotionally intelligent, and then going back to the very first points that we made at the beginning, ask for the winning conditions, the conditions for success. Looking around the room, who are the people sitting at the board table who can be of greatest support to you to achieve the mandates that you've been given. And if you can't find a large enough, or they're missing components or persons who do not have the expertise, you have to ask for it. You have to ask for it.
Yeah, Camille.
And you have to ask for it in a way that the leadership, the board sees that there's a lot in it for them as well as for the organization, that everybody is going to win.
Thank you for that, Camille, because I was actually going to ask you a bit more. We talk a little bit more about what it means to have. I imagine the winning condition success differ from context to context. It sounds like we say a part is also understanding one that's not just success for the BIPOC individual, but all the people around them. Is there anything more you would add to that in terms of finding what those are being, or maybe uncovering what those conditions success can be for somebody?
Okay, I'm going to give you an example. My mother, many, many years ago, back in Jamaica, there was a benefit that was only available to men in positions of leadership in the Jamaica Public Service. Okay, that was a regulation that came about from the colonial times, when it was men who were civil servants, and they came from England, and every 2 years they got an assisted passage. It was only for men. My mother was among the leaders, first set of women who rose to positions of management. She had the audience of the Prime Minister when she went to a meeting one day, and she went off topic. The way how she positioned her point that women should also get this was that, Mr. Prime Minister, it is the International Women's Year. Your government is very focused on ensuring that women receive equal treatment and respect from men. There is this law or this regulation or this benefit that only benefits men. I do believe that if you opened up this benefit to women, that would be a clear demonstration of the way in which you and your government are supporting women. So you see how you can turn the conversation in a way, or position the point in a way that it benefits the person. The other thing is that a white person doesn't always understand the perspective of a non-white person. A person who is not gay does not see the things in the same way that a gay person sees. You have to be able to position things in a way that you're not just fighting for your rights, but you're benefiting the other person and the society as a whole. Because we all, at the end of the day, Khalil, we all want the same things. We all want to live in harmony. We all want to be included. We all want to feel that we live in an equal, fair society and a fair world. So just using that example of what my mother did, I think is one way in which, we can, we got to be able to ask for winning conditions in that way.
Thank you so much, Camille. Before we wrap up this episode, is there anything you'd like to mention or maybe highlight?
Yes. I just want to mention that with all the talk of DEI, what has happened is that white women and white gay men are the ones who have tended to benefit. There are stats that show that it is Black women or women of color who are lagging behind. We need to be aware that people hire people who are like themselves. Women need to support other women. We need to network with other women, women of color, yes, but also white women, to build bridges and to build understanding and to build strong networks and mentorships. And if you need a mentor, if you need a sponsor, if you need a coach, ask for it. And that, I think, it's not a negative on you. You are capable, you're well-rounded, you have what it takes to succeed, but we have to understand that to succeed, you have to succeed in the terms and conditions that are laid out in front of you by the organization that you're working for. And I just want to leave that with people, that there are some things that we are faced with that we can't change by being angry or being, reactive. We have to try our best to understand, align ourselves without compromising who we are and the fact that we are diverse and we have different perspectives in order to win. So, yeah.
Thank you for that, Camille. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you or just follow you, what's the best way they can do that in terms of your link?
Yes, follow me on LinkedIn, or you can also visit my website, which groups my social media presence. It's CamilleIsacsMorell.com. But anybody following me on LinkedIn would be able to visit my website. Just visit my profile, Camille Isaacs Morell. And I have it in French as well as English. So je voudrais aussi tisser les liens avec les personnes francophones aussi, parce que je suis parfaitement bilingue et donc j'invite tout le monde de connecter avec moi. J'aime bien le réseautage. Merci.
Thank you so much for being a guest today, Camille.
Thank you, Khalil.